everybody, and welcome to tutorial 2 of the non-blocking socket series. In this tutorial, we're going to cover adding the write FD set and the exception FD set. In the previous tutorial, we had implemented the read FD set, and we had selected on it to see if any sockets were in the read FD set, which basically told us if there was a new connection for the listen socket, or it told us if the individual connections had either disconnected or if they had sent some data. So before we do anything, let's go ahead and add our write FD set and our exception FD set. And the first thing we want to do is zero these out. And let's go ahead and look at the select documentation on MSDN. So if we scroll down, you will see in summary, a socket will be identified in a particular set when select returns if, for read FDS, we already know if listen has been called and the connection is pending, accept will succeed. So if someone's trying to connect on a socket that we're listening on, if data is available for reading, which includes out-of-band data, but we're not going to cover out-of-band data. Everything I've read, people act like you should stay away from it because it has issues. And also if the connection has been closed, reset, terminated, which we are currently using read FDS to check for that. For write FDS, if processing a connect call and the connection has succeeded, so the server won't actually be using it for this. The clients will be using it for this to check if we've actually connected to the server. What the server will be using this for is to check if data can be sent. Lastly, and this one's kind of confusing, is the accept FD set. So the clients will use this whenever they're connecting to see if the connection was successful. This is also used for out-of-band data, but like I said before, we're not using out-of-band data. Now, something about this is it doesn't mention the other exceptions on the documentation, but there are other exceptions that can occur. I can't tell you what exactly they are because they're not documented. And if we scroll up right here, you'll see the parameter accept FDS identifies sockets that are to be checked for the presence of out-of-band data or any exceptional error conditions. So what we're going to do is we're going to be always monitoring for exceptional conditions, and if they occur, we are going to print out the error code associated with that, and then we are going to close that connection. And we are only going to, I guess we can do this with everything. So let's see. For the listen socket, I'm not going to add the write FD set because there's really no reason to that I can think of right now. But we'll check for exceptions. And I guess, let's see, for each connection we will add them to the write FD set and the accept FD set. Now on our select, we're going to, instead of passing a null, we're going to pass in our write FD set and our accept FD set. And down here, before I even check, I guess, if listen socket is in read FD set, so if a new connection occurred, I'm going to check if it was in the exception FD set. I don't know what could cause this, But if it does, we're just going to basically shut down our server and call WinSock API cleanup. So we're going to close our listening socket, and we're going to iterate through our connections and close each of these. Close socket, connections, I. After that, we are going to break out of the loop. And what that will do is that'll bring us all the way down to the end of our loop. Also, I meant to remove that sleep. There's no reason to have that. All the way down to call cleanup and then end the program. And that's just if something happens on our listening socket. And before we actually close it, I want to print out what that error is. So the way that we do that is we have an error code value stored as an integer, and then we have error code size, which is the size of an integer. Or I'm just going to pass an error code. It's the same thing. If I had this or if I had this, they both do the same thing. So we're going to call something called getSockOpt. And the way that it works is we do if getSockOpt, and we pass in the socket that we want to see what the exception was. The level is going to be, did that wrong, SOL, oh, sorry. So the level is socket. The operator name, socket error. And the operator value, this is where the error will be stored. For some reason, it's a character pointer, so we have to cast it and then pass an error code. And then the error code size is an integer pointer, so just pass in reference like that. Now, if getSockOpt is successful, it will return 0. So we'll check if it's equal to 0, and if it is, we will say WinSock error on listen socket. Else, if we can't print it out, WinSock error on listen socket, we'll say getSockOpt failed, ending server. And we're going to do the same thing for our connections. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this into a function just so I don't copy this exact code. And all the function is going to do is it's going to print out print exceptional condition. It's a long name, but it will work. I guess I'll do this a little bit different. Okay, so we'll do it like this. And down here, what we will do is we will call print, God, what did I even name that? I forget. All right, print exceptional condition. Pass in listen socket. And then after that, we will put WinSock error occurred on listen socket ending server. There we go. And then we'll close the socket, and then we will close all the client connections. So down here, where we iterate through every single connection, before we check the read FD set, we're going to go ahead and check the accept FD set. And we're going to do something similar. So just scroll back up and copy those two lines. Paste those right here. So we're going to print the exceptional condition for that connection. Client. And we're going to print out the client's value. Disconnecting client. So we're going to disconnect the client if an exceptional condition occurs on that socket. And the way that we are going to do that is exactly the same as how we did it here. We're just going to close the socket, erase it from the vector, decrement I so the iterator is in the right spot for the next iteration, and then continue to go to the next iteration of our for loop. So that is all that we need to do for the accept FD set. The write FD set is much simpler. All we need to do is if FD is set, I'm actually going to put this after read. If FD is set, connections I. So if this socket is ready to be written to, send data here. So we're not going to send data yet, but let's say that we were going to send data. We could just do send connection buffer for null. And that would constantly try to send these 4 bytes. So this is where we're going to stop for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, it'll probably be a little bit longer. What we're going to cover is making that client simulator that I had made in a previous tutorials example. And that client simulator will let us simulate multiple connections connecting to the server at once. And then it will also help us just for, testing out, are we sending data right or receiving data right, or does this work when we have so many connections doing whatever at the same time? So that is all that we are going to cover for this tutorial. And once again, thanks for watching.